Okay, I want people to understand how, I mean, it's not insane, but how crazy it is that right now, Apple are really the only other company that sell a 6K display, the Pro Display XDR. That Pro Display XDR has been on sale since 2020, 2021, something like that. Since then, there has pretty much been no one else that sells a 6K display. Until now, that is. To be fully honest with you, I don't know if this is the exact same panel in the Pro Display XDR. There are a few big differences, most notably being that this is an IPS panel, not a mini LED panel like the Pro Display XDR. I can't really find any answers anywhere. Let's just see what it's like, because I have a feeling that it is the same exact display.
Absolutely wrong.
I am pretty excited to unbox this. I need to actually stabilize the desk because, like I said, I've been waiting for a 6K competitor for obviously ever since the Pro Display XDR. I bought the Pro Display XDR because there was nothing else out there like it. There's no other display that's 6K resolution. And 6K resolution is one of those things where once you try it, once you use it, you realize how insanely useful 6K is. There is a box within a box in here. Let's get the monitor out. There we go. And then I assume this is the monitor stand. Okay. This box here is much nicer though. That actually looks a lot nicer. You can see they are trying to copy the sort of Apple style here. I think it looks pretty good. On the side, we can see that it's the Qualcomm G32P. The resolution, it actually has a resolution on here. 6144 by 3456. I'm not sure if that's actually the same resolution as the Pro Display XDR. I think that might be a few pixels difference there. So maybe it's not the same panel. It can't be if it's not the same resolution. It must be a different one. So this is 32 inches in size. So it is a big monitor, bigger than the average monitor that most people would have in their setup. We're good to go. Underneath here, we do indeed have the monitor itself. If we open this up, wow, okay. Wow, I've got to show you this, guys. So we can see they have tried to imitate the Pro Display XDR sort of back of the display. It's not very good, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it looks very good because it doesn't have the depth that the Pro Display XDR does. The Pro Display XDR, the actual holes are a lot deeper and they're sort of curved. This is more sort of flat. That's the best way I can explain it. But what is nice to see is the connectivity. We have 2 HDMI ports, we have a display port, and then we have 3 USB-C ports. This USB-C port here will be for connecting to your Mac, and then we have a 3-pin power connection in, which is nice because that is easily replaceable. So if you have a damaged cable or whatever, you can easily replace that. Oh, of course, we have a 3.5mm jack. Other than the odd imitation, the aluminium is very high quality. It feels very nicely finished, feels premium. It feels like a expensive product. There is a VESA mount adapter included, which is useful. So you can mount it to a monitor arm. You don't have to use the stand that they include. And it's also nice to see that included in the price, because with Apple, you either have to pay for the VESA mount adapter or you have to pay for the monitor stand. Neither are included, which is just crazy, really. We have HDMI cable, DisplayPort cable, and a little remote. I like remotes. I know some people don't like the idea of remotes, but I actually really do like having a remote, so then I don't have to reach around the back of the monitor to change anything. We do have a USB-C cable included, which is nice. This will be used for connecting a 1 cable setup to your Mac. The other great thing with a 1 cable setup like this is that it will charge your machine. So this can charge up to 100 watts as far as I can tell. Next, we need to get into the actual stand of this thing. So this is different from the other stand that I got. We get the base plate here for it. Super nice and easy. We just have the stand here. Solid aluminium stand, feels very high quality. It's very, very similar to the other stand that I had in the other video for the 5K version of this monitor. Monitor mounting time. Monitor is mounted to the stand. We can it's a bit dodgy, but we can rotate the monitor to be, if we really want it to be, we can rotate it to be portrait, but oh, it's so close to the bottom. It's literally millimeters away from the bottom there. But yes, we can rotate it, so we can have a fully portrait 6K monitor for watching TikToks and Instagram Reels. What an absolute waste of time that would be. And I don't know why you would buy a monitor just for that, but if that's part of your job, I can see why some people would like it. Whoa, there's actually lots of movement in this. Holy moly, I don't like all the sounds it's making, but there is tons of, bloody hell, look at the angle on that. That is an insane angle. So there is lots of movement here to get the monitor at the angle that you would like. Can move it up and down too, which is nice. I have already noticed some odd parts here though. Let me show you guys actually. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is a sort of residue here, which I assume is some sort of glue from where they've obviously had to put the monitor together. Yeah. It's not exactly ideal. I can even feel it sort of like peeling off in my finger, on my fingers even. Yeah, just one of those things, I guess. You know, when you're not paying that sort of Apple Premium, you can't expect the Apple Premium-ness as well, I guess. Okie dokie, now is the time to peel the screen protector. Oh, okay, this is gonna take a while because it's not peeling off nicely.
One eternity later.
Okay, we are nearly at the end now. Wow, you can really see those fingerprints. I've got to get those off. I think it still looks really good. Like it still does look incredible. Just very minimal, very clean, no branding or anything. I do like that. You know, I think if you had that on your desk and people didn't see the back of it, they would think that's an Apple display. Like it really does look like a display that Apple makes right now, whether it's the Studio Display or the Pro Display XDR. So before we plug it in, I just want to look at the back of it again, just to show you guys what it looks like at the back. I do think it looks good. It's not exactly like a Pro Display XDR, but it's pretty close. I think if someone hadn't seen the Pro Display XDR in person, they would think that this looks nearly exactly the same. Like they would probably think that it's a Pro Display XDR. I think from the back it's good. It looks good. I think it's a nice looking monitor. I think they've done a good job here of trying to imitate what Apple have. When it comes to thinness, yeah, I mean, it's not exactly a thin monitor, but it's not too thick either. I'm impressed so far. We'll see what it's like once I plug it in and what the display quality, what the panel quality is actually like. Boom, we're in. It looks really good actually so far. Default resolution, which is 3072 by 1728, which I think is exactly half of the actual resolution, which is what we want because then it scales it perfectly. From first glance, the colors look good. Maybe a bit bluer than they should be, but from first glance, they do look good. Oh wait, that turns it off. Okay, amazing. I've got the remote working now. So the infrared sensor is literally just under here. I can press the menu button on the remote, and these are some of the settings that we see. We can adjust the brightness in here because you cannot adjust the brightness through the Mac display as far as I can tell. What I do like to see here though is the ability to change the color temperature, the color mode. Like these are useful options to have because if you want to get the color right for the monitor, you of course need to adjust these settings. So I'm glad they've put these in here. By the way, if you're interested in the wallpaper, I will leave a link to the wallpapers that I'm using. It's part of the new palette pack that I've just launched. But yeah, looking at the colors, like when I look at the colors on my Mac and I look at the colors on the display, they are very, very close. This is an IPS panel, so I can tell that the blacks are raised compared to the blacks on my Mac. They're not as deep as a mini LED display like they are on the Mac or on the Pro Display XDR. From looking at it here, there's like a bluey purpley tinge. So maybe with some adjustment, I can get it to look a bit more white. But the colors look good other than that. And it's so sharp, like the 6K resolution, it just looks so sharp. Like it's hard for me to explain how good 6K resolution is until you use it yourself. You realize how much more screen estate you have, how much more things you can fit on the display all at one time. You know, some people will get multiple displays or ultra wide displays so they can fit more on the display. But when you do that, you lose a lot of clarity, a lot of sharpness because the displays aren't sort of true retina quality. This is a true retina display where you have a 6K resolution in a 32-inch size. So the text, the images and everything just looks so sharp. The UI elements look incredible. Yeah, looking at the colors here on my store as well for the wallpapers and stuff. Yeah, it does look good. It does look good. I can easily already see this being a good display when you've calibrated it, of course, but I can see this being a good display photo editing, video editing, because it is a 10-bit panel. I'm impressed. I'm impressed so far. And you have additional ports on the back, so you can connect a PC through a display port. You can connect a PS5 or a games console through the HDMI port. Now, of course, a games console isn't going to be 6K resolution. It will most likely just be 4K upscaled, but there won't be any sort of proper upscaling. It will kind of just fit it to the display. But when connected to a PC, you'll have a true 6K resolution with a PC now. That was pretty much unheard of before. Like, it just wasn't a thing. You could connect the Pro Display XDR, but you couldn't adjust any of the settings because the settings for the Pro Display XDR were built into Mac OS. With this, you now have the remote, so you can adjust any settings independently regardless of what device you have connected. So I've got Lightroom open here, and yeah, the images just look so good, man. Like 6K resolution, damn. The images look so good. Okay, we have the Pro Display XDR as well here now. Looking at them side by side though, very quickly before I turn it on, like I said, the bezels are definitely thinner on the Pro Display XDR, but now that they're side by side, I really don't think most people are even gonna be able to tell the difference. They're so close. When you're looking at them like this though, they actually look like the same display. Like, it's actually quite scary. Even the stand looks near enough exactly the same. This is surprisingly closer than I expected. A lot closer than I expected. To my eye, when looking at these two displays, holy moly. They look so close. Like, it's weird. Okay folks, I've just come to the realization that the Koikon 32GP is higher resolution than the Pro Display XDR. It's not by much, but it is high resolution. The Pro Display XDR is 6016 by 3384. The Koikon 32GP is 6144 by 3456. I'll put the resolutions on the screen so that you guys can see. When I have a window completely open, the edges are actually really good. They are a little bit dark, but not noticeably so unless you're actually looking for it. I found that the edges on the Pro Display XDR are dark anyway. Like, that's just a given with this sort of type of display. You're not going to have it completely perfect because obviously they're not OLED panels. But with this being mini LED, it definitely, I can already tell that the blacks are just a lot blacker, a lot darker on this display. This is where I see the biggest difference though. When I have two Figma files open, two designs, on the camera, I don't think you're going to be able to see. But I can see it here. The Pro Display XDR, it just feels like I can see the shadows, I can see the details of my design here a bit better. The whites and the gray background, they look more sort of true, more realistic. On the Koikon, everything just has a tinge to it. Right now, it looks like it has like a purpley tinge. The text is sharp, the UI elements are sharp, but it just doesn't have that same finesse and same clarity that the Pro Display XDR has. However, this is something you've got to keep in mind. The price difference between the two. The Pro Display XDR, without a stand, without a base mount, nothing like that, is what, like $4,500, $4,000, something like that. Can't remember the exact price. That's so much money. That's a ridiculous amount of money. And then for the stand that I have here, that's an extra $1,000. So technically this is a $5,000 package right here for just this setup. This, however, including the monitor stand, including the base mount, the cables, everything, so it works straight out of the box, is $1,800. So it is less than half the price of the Pro Display XDR. And I'd say you are getting 80% of the experience. 80%, because the Pro Display XDR obviously has a lot more functionality than just the resolution, right? I need to minimize these because I feel like they're so bright. But this is a high-end, almost business grade product. This isn't really technically for consumers. It's for people who are doing high-end video work, high-end photo editing work. I've seen a lot of reviews, a lot of people compare this to monitors that are $20,000, $30,000 in the sort of film industry. Knowing that you get the same experience on a $5,000 monitor was just unheard of at the time. You are not going to get the same experience here. This isn't a mini LED display. It doesn't have the calibration like the Pro Display XDR has. Apple obviously makes sure that the Pro Display XDR is calibrated perfectly out of the box. I think with this monitor, what you're really paying for is the resolution, the 32-inch size, because there is literally nothing else out there right now like it. I know LG, I know Asus do have 6K resolution monitors coming out soon, but they're not out yet. They're not available to buy. You can't go out and buy them on the internet. With this monitor, you can actually go buy it right now and get it shipped right now. So really, this is the only competitor to the Pro Display XDR. Another huge difference between these two monitors is the brightness. The Pro Display XDR can do up to 1600 nits. Like, I don't think people understand how bright 1600 nits is. It's like outrageously bright. The Qualcomm monitor can only do 500 nits. So huge difference there. And I can definitely tell when I'm watching HDR movies, HDR content on the Pro Display XDR, the experience is unreal. Like, it's so hard to explain until you actually see it. But that sort of brightness with HDR content, the way it just is so striking on the display, there's nothing else like it. You are not going to get that experience on the Qualcomm monitor. I want to show you guys a quick side-by-side here of the two monitors. Could you tell the difference? Like, if you didn't already know that this was the Pro Display XDR and then this one was the Qualcomm monitor, would you be able to tell the difference? I don't think you can. I'll be fully honest with you. They look so similar from the front. So this is a really good copy, a really good copy. Let's go around the back. So here we are around the back of the monitors, and you can see the differences now. They still look very similar, of course, but you can really see the difference in the sort of design here. You can see the Pro Display XDR finish and the sort of design of, I don't even know what this design actually is. I've forgotten what it's called, but you can see it's a lot more three-dimensional compared to the Qualcomm monitor. The Qualcomm monitor is very flat. From the side profile, they're actually near enough exactly the same thickness. Maybe there's a couple millimeter difference, but they are very similar. One thing I don't know if you guys can see is that the Pro Display XDR, the edge, like, there is no seal, but you can see on the Qualcomm there is a seal. You can also just see here the difference in the sort of finishing. You're paying for that premium with the Apple product. I do wonder what Apple are thinking, because here's a company coming out with what is a monitor that does like 70–80% of what the Pro Display XDR does at less than half the price. Do I recommend it? Should you go out and buy the Qualcomm G32P? That really depends on you. If you're someone who has been interested in the Pro Display XDR, you don't want to spend $5,000. You don't care too much about the sort of high-end functionality of like the color profiles, the video editing stuff, and the amazing color accuracy, but you want the 6K resolution and stuff, then yeah, I actually think this is a monitor I would recommend. But I would recommend it sort of, it's one of those things where I'd be wary, right? Because you're buying it from a manufacturer where you're not going to get the same level of support as you would from a more sort of popular, a more established manufacturer. You know, companies like Apple, Asus, LG, these sorts of companies, they provide very good customer service. You're not just paying for the product, you're also paying for the experience after you've bought the product. You're not gonna get that same experience here, I don't think. Like, if there's any issues with it, you're sort of just gonna have to live with it. But considering the massive price difference here and how this is $1,800 compared to $4,000, $5,000, it's such good saving. Like, you can buy two of them for the same amount that you buy one of these, which is just crazy to me. Like, this is a 6K resolution monitor. It is 60 Hertz, both of them are 60 Hertz. So if you're looking for a high refresh rate monitor, then look away. This is not the place. Like, if that's what you care about, there are so many other better 4K, 240 Hertz, 480 Hertz monitors out there. This isn't for high refresh rate. This is for people who just value purely that resolution, the screen estate, having all that screen estate to work with, having a large 32-inch monitor, one monitor that can pretty much do everything. And the advantage of the Qualcomm monitor over the Apple monitor is that you can connect other devices. You can connect your games console, you can connect your PC, you can have multiple devices connected to it at any one time. So this can truly be your one monitor for everything. With the Pro Display XDR, that is not the case. You can just only connect your Mac, really your Mac, that's it. Like, you can't really connect anything else. You can try to, but you can't adjust any of the settings or anything like that. So that is one advantage which surprisingly it has over the Pro Display XDR. Now, obviously, I already have the Pro Display XDR, so I'm going to continue using it. But I think what is something that I wasn't expecting to say as I was recording this video and as I was using this monitor is that if I didn't have the Pro Display XDR and this had come out and I knew it was $1,800, I would go out and buy this over that right now. Like I just would. The sort of pro video functionality, the pro video features and stuff of this and the sort of color profiles and stuff, they're really great, they're really, really nice, but I don't use them that much. The color accuracy, sure, it's absolutely top notch. It's one of the best in the industry, but considering I'm making YouTube videos, I'm editing photos in Lightroom and stuff for Instagram and stuff, they're not, I guess you could say, super commercial grade. Like, you know, I'm not doing commercials for bloody cinema and TV. I'm just doing stuff for YouTube. I'm doing stuff for creative stuff. This would be good enough. Like, I would just calibrate it. I'd get a calibrator, colorimeter, I'd adjust the settings in macOS and just get the colors just the way I like them. And I would probably be completely happy, and I think most other people will be as well. Yeah, I'm actually surprised that I am actually recommending this monitor, because I was fully expecting not to recommend it because I was expecting to find a lot of flaws. Obviously it's not perfect, you know, there's sort of like residue along the top, the bezels aren't as big, it doesn't have auto brightness, the color isn't exactly perfect out of the box. You know, there are these minor sort of issues, but considering how much money you're saving, like it's just, yeah. It's just crazy to me that you can buy two of them for the price of the Pro Display XDR. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of thoughts about this monitor, Pro Display XDR, and everything else that's going on. What I really want actually is a 6K resolution display like this that can do 120 Hz. Like, I do want that higher refresh rate, but I don't need it necessarily. It's why I've been happy to stick with 60 Hz, because 120 Hz for the stuff I do, it's really not going to make a difference, but the 6K resolution, that does make a difference. Anyway, I'm babbling on. There's just so much to talk about with these monitors. I'll leave a link to everything down in the description. Make sure to check out my wallpaper packs. It's a great way to support the channel. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.